Closing menu. Scenes menu button. Econ Lift has new window. You are currently on a button. To click here at any time to view the post on YouTube. Entering Econ Lift dialog.
Hey everyone, so just bear with me.
Scenes menu button.
So I know that it's been a minute and me having to figure things out, me having to basically, get through the realms of not only me being sick, but with the limited resources that I have, with the limited what I have at this moment because of obviously circumstances. For those of you who are new, I am Juana or Jojo if you are unable to speak Spanish. um, I basically do impactful and inspirational things on YouTube and other platforms when I am able to. And considering the circumstances and things that are going on in the world right now, I have not only had to rebrand, but I have also had to figure out where I'm going to go from here and what I want to do in the meantime. And I have been pretty sick for the last, I want to say, week or two. So I know that for a lot of you, it's concerning considering my condition, but you know, there's really only so much
Messages.
I can
Larry.
do.
Website.
There's
$2,000 Social
really,
Security checks will be deposited for SSI.
really
Deposit date.
only
Fourth
so
stimulus
much that
check
I can
update.
do
YouTube.
as far as that
Entering
goes.
camera effects.
So,
System floating window.
I just, I don't know. I just want to continue try to do these lives, continue try to want to do different topics, different things that need to be discussed, things that obviously I feel like matter. I feel like that uh, basically have an existence in this world, even though negativity, drama, you know, do whatever we can for content is what's pushed at this very moment, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be covering it on this live stream. So, with that being said, we're going to cover a lot of different things today. It's going to be quite a variety, let's put it that way. Some positive, some negative, some iffy, some cringy, some like, what the hell were we thinking? And yeah, it's going to be a lot. And I know that I promised that I was going to do.
Entering entering
Give me a second.
entering
I know that I
entering
promised that I was going
dialogue.
to do Streamlabs, but I just, for the life of me, couldn't bring myself to
Menu.
figure it
Entering
out.
menu.
And you know, even with the voiceover, even with you know, the help of, you know, this software, it's just not feasible at all. Just not possible, unfortunately. So just give me a second. Okay, so here's the thing. I wanted to give you guys this particular. Let's do this first, because if I don't do this first, then the other one's not going to make any sense, and the transition is going to be off. So let's go ahead here.
Entering Ecom Live dialogue.
Give me 1 second.
Enter menu. 11 items. Menu. 11 items. Entering menu. Closing menu.
For
Edwin
this
Salvo
first initial
versus Tipster
tweet
Mod.
from Tipster here, and he's actually making a
Entering Ecom
claim
Live
here
dialogue.
that you took a swipe at his wife.
I did. So last night,
Okay. So I know that a lot of people, as much as the commentary community wants to claim that they are number one in YouTube, as much as the commentary community wants to claim that they are the talk of the town, and there's a lot of egos involved, there's a lot of I mean, a lot of people find it like, from my understanding, a lot of people find it cringy, a lot of people find it creepy, in a sense that these 40-year-olds are trying so desperately to fit in with 20-year-olds. And to be honest, it's a mixed bunch when you're on YouTube. Whether, it doesn't matter like what your audience prefers. It doesn't matter what your audience is watching. It is going to be a mixed, a mixed audience. And I find that a lot of the younger generation, regardless of what the media's misconception is, whether you're on either platforms, I feel like a lot of people just don't realize that a lot of the younger generations are the age demographic between the ages of 18 to 34 is, I mean, I know that's a huge range, but between the ages of 18 and 34, that is basically the majority of people that watch YouTube. And then anybody between 35 and up, obviously it's going to slow down. That's why I find it interesting that a lot of the Gen X's, mainly women that are on YouTube, you see that these individuals, these women, try so hard to be number one on YouTube and end up being catty, end up being snarky, end up being ridiculous on YouTube. And it's really no different between the males that are, Gen X's as well. So I find it interesting that while all of the generations are watching YouTube, a lot of the generations are clashing on YouTube and between both male, female, and non-binary and transgender and so on and so forth, right? So this whole debacle with Tipster and Salvo is interesting because while everyone wants to talk their ish about Salvo, people are saying that Tipster is right in the fact that he basically got his fame from Keemstar. If it wasn't for Keemstar, he wouldn't be well known. But in reality, if it wasn't for Deaf Noodles clearly shoving this dude, we wouldn't know who Salvo was. I mean, if it wasn't for Salvo raging and basically inciting a riot, inciting a fight, and instigating his way into the comedy clubs that doesn't even exist right now, as far as Deaf Noodles goes. Clearly, if it wasn't for Deaf Noodles, we wouldn't know who Salvo was. If it wasn't for everyone trying to clown Deaf Noodles, Salvo wouldn't exist. And clearly, Salvo has a following. Regardless, if we want to say that without Deaf Noodles, he wouldn't have a radar, right? But Salvo really does have a following, and Salvo really does have an audience that will not only stick up for him, but he really does have an audience that you can't really, it's like one of those things where it's like a crowd that you can't really mess with. Like some people have them, some people don't. You can clearly tell who's got the bigger audience on YouTube. I mean, at the end of the day, as I tell people over and over and over again, numbers don't matter. Numbers don't mean shit. But if you have that interaction, if you have that audience, then obviously your numbers are pointless, right? I try to tell people all the time that regardless of what your goals are on YouTube, regardless of what your goals are online, at the end of the day, you have to be presentful, and you're a brand at the end of the day. So I'm going to play this out. I will probably pause a few times. I did up the speed already, so for those of you who are wondering.
I saw that he was being so over the top to Miss Abby Blackbird. Posted pictures of fucking
Hamburger.
hamburgers. Yeah, posting pictures of hamburgers, and really like letting it known that he's very fat phobic and kind of misogynist. So I'm hearing all that, and I'm like, I want to see this motherfucker hurt. I want to hit him where it hurts. So I brought up his wife, and I'm glad that I did, because I did it. I forgot about it until his tweet this afternoon. And he calls me out. He thinks he got me. And then somebody that he was messaging on Discord goes, Salvo, funny enough, Tipster called your wife a bitch. And then sent me over the fucking screenshots. So, yeah, I called his wife handicapped. I don't even know if she's handicapped. That's just what I heard from Nicholas Fiorio, by the way. I don't know for sure, but that's what Nicholas Fiorio was telling everybody. And obviously, it hurt him. And I don't take it back, because he was being over the top abusive to a victim in Miss Abby Blackbird.
Okay, now let's get the actual quote here. It says, Salvo Pancakes, you typed in the chat from last night's member stream on Keemstar, and you said Tipster's wife is not social because she's handicapped.
Yeah, because handicapped people literally can't be social because they're like tied to their house. They're shut-ins.
It's limited social ability.
Limited social ability. So it's like he wants to call out Miss Abby Blackbird for being parasocial. At least he's social in one way or the other.
Did he block you, by the way?
Okay, so I'm just going to be really honest with you guys. I know that Tipster took it as a jab. I know Tipster took it as he was making fun of his wife. But at the end of the day, that's an observation. Okay? And he did admit, Salvo just admitted that he was making fun of her. But in all honesty, that's an observation. Like if you're non-disabled, in my words, normal. If you're normal, at the end of the day, you're basically telling your audience that you think you know everything, right? Like when it comes to like people and saying that, those of us that are disabled are basically non-social. He's not wrong in his observation. Like obviously some of us don't go out. Some of us aren't able to. Some of us are restricted, right? We're not able to socialize. That is actually the beauty of social media, because regardless if it is parasocial, and for those of you who have no idea, parasocial is a buzzword that is currently being used at the moment in the commentary community. Parasocial just means basically the relationship and interaction between the audience and their favorite YouTuber, influencer, streamer, so on and so forth. And it is to the point where it is it's an issue. Like it's to the point where I wouldn't say like it's to the point where it becomes mental illness. It's just to the point where the person is delusional in the fact that they're thinking, oh, they know their creator, their best friends, they are like, they basically think they know them, right? That is basically a parasocial relationship. And he was in trying to defend Abby Blackbird. I'm not going to go into that because she was a little too whiny for me, to be honest with you. But Tipster was making fun of her, that she was, fat, that she was chubby, that she was so on and so forth. But that is actually how everybody took it, that he was making fun of her, that she was fat. He was claiming that that wasn't what he was doing at all. But Salvo took it another turn. And he basically just Tipster just doesn't like Abby. A lot of people don't actually like her, and I'm not going to say that whether I like her or don't. I don't know her. Okay, I can't give you anything. If I haven't interacted with somebody, I can't tell you that I don't like them. I mean, it is what it is. Just fair game. Do you know what I mean? So for him to say, I mean, to me, that's an observation. He said it was a statement. He said it was a joke. He was making fun of Chipster's wife, who is handicapped. We don't know the severity of her disability. I guess some people do. Some people in the commentary community do, but I don't. A lot of people don't know the severity of her disability. And I can understand Tipster's frustration, his anger, from not, like, when you're someone who isn't disabled and you love someone or you care about somebody that is disabled, you're going to be insulted for that individual. Because believe it or not, we deal with a lot of ignorance, a lot of animosity, a lot of basically BS in the real world. Like if I were to go out and into the community, you would be surprised at how many ignorant, snarky comments I would get from individuals. Oh, well, you don't look disabled. Oh, well, you're faking your illness. Oh, well, you're faking your disability. And clearly they see me with the canes. Clearly they see me struggling. But because we live in a world where people can't tell the difference between delusion and reality. Delusioning meaning the Matrix, meaning online. It's hard to differentiate what's real and what's not. And I'm just going to be, in all fairness, a lot of people think that this is fake. So a lot of what I'm going to bring up in the commentary community, people think it's fake. People think that this is all a ruse. This is all just to start some drama because they're bored, clearly, and they need money, and they need numbers, and they need a show, and so on and so forth. So that's understandable that people that aren't a part of this community, that aren't a part of YouTube, that don't do this for a living, it's really understandable why people think that, obviously. And I think that people just need to remember that there are actual human beings behind this. And I clearly just wanted to point out that it's a statement, it's an observation. This isn't uncommon. Like, I've heard this before. Like, this isn't the first time a normal person, meaning someone who's non-disabled, has said something like this. This has been going on since the dawn of the first interaction between a disabled person and a non-disabled person. So again, he's not wrong in his statement. It's a low blow. That's all where Tipster is coming from. It is a low blow, and you're gonna see how confusing it gets as it goes on.
Yeah, he blocked me.
Okay, yeah, because I can't see this quote tweet anymore.
Yeah,
So
he blocked me. Xylee actually admitted to soft blocking me earlier today, too.
Oh, wait, Xylee soft blocked you?
Xylee soft blocked me. Tipster blocked me today, yeah.
Xylee was in the show earlier. She didn't say that. Oh, no, that's not good. They're teaming up again, are they?
Here's the thing. Again, Salvo Pancakes is willing to be the bigger person. I called the dogs off of Sosa. I'm also calling the dogs off of Xylee. The dogs are officially off of Xylee for now.
Okay.
Because I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. I want to trust her. I also want to prove to everybody that I can be the bigger man. But when it comes to Tipster and other people, the dogs are barking. The dogs are hungry.
Okay, that's what I was gonna clarify with you, because yeah, so it's not this new character arc is not due to Tipster. It's due to Xylee.
Me being more nice
Yeah.
is trying to give people the benefit of the doubt.
He said to you, because you said ironic when he said, if you want to take swipes at me, fair game, but don't you disrespect my wife like that. My wife ain't a content creator. She ain't a part of this stuff. Dragging her into this just makes you look like an a-hole. And you said ironic. And he said, how's that ironic? I don't F with your wife, bro. And I wouldn't, because family is off limits, dog.
Oh, yeah. It's ironic for a couple reasons. One, it's ironic because you called my wife a bitch earlier in the day. It's ironic, too, because Nicholas Diorio was making fun of your wife for today. It's ironic, too, because Nicholas Diorio was making fun of your wife. And Tommy C was also at one point making fun of your wife, Tipster. And you didn't say anything when Nicholas Diorio and Tommy C did it. But, of course, there's a Salvo hate boner going around, so Tipster's got to call out Salvo pancakes.
Yo, chat, do you guys know, is that true? Have Tommy C and Nicholas Diorio made fun of Tipster's wife? Is there a double standard here going on?
Yes, of course there's a double standard. And just like I wasn't kicked out of the group message because I leaked messages, Diorio wanted me out of the group message because I made fun of Augie's mom.
Entering Finder.
That is serious. Because people have been denying this whole thing, you know, like there is different treatment. And let me tell you something, Sabo, because, you know, do you remember why, like, Nick was going off on you that night? Like, he ravaged you on the Xylee stream. Do you remember about that?
Of course I remember it. It was fucking haunts me.
He was going off on you because he was calling you manufactured drama. That's what he was saying you are.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
Yeah, you will see Nick following up on this Destiny, Lava Loon, all this stuff that's like infighting. What's different about them?
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes into further. I didn't want to do the whole live stream. I didn't want to do like I think it's like 2-3 hours ish. But there's a lot that goes behind it, and
entering Eckham Live dialogue.
Give me 1 second. Okay. It does go into further because I find it interesting that prior that stream, Keemstar came on, and at the time, Keem and Salvo basically were co-hosts. It hasn't even been that long that they've been co-hosts. Don't quote me on how long. I'm not a huge fan of Keemstar. I call him Karen because he complains about every little thing. Like, he bitches and moans about the dumbest shit. And to me, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't, because as much as he wants to bitch at his staff, as much as he wants to complain to the people that work for him and the people that he works with, like, you can do this shit yourself. Like, stop bitching, stop being a girl, stop being a punk, and just do it yourself, because that's getting annoying. And I don't know why everybody is up against Salvo when in the end, it's not like we don't know who he is. It's not like we don't know his personality, his persona, basically, because this isn't who he is in real life. He just can't turn it off. He's just one of those people that just can't. He can't quit. He can't turn it off. And to be, in all fairness, Def Noodles is the exact same way. It took Def Noodles a long time to turn it off. And then when he finally did, people were like, "Are you okay, bro? Do you need help, or do you need to see a therapist?" And he's like, "No, bro. This is just the real me." Like, he's been such a persona for so long. He's been wanting to turn it off for so long. He friggin' took off the cat ears and turned off the Minecraft character, and people lost their shit over it. And I can guarantee that if Salvo ever does show the real him on cam and shows the real him to his audience, they would absolutely lose their shit. Like, they wouldn't know what's real and what's fake. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a Jedi mind trick, if you will. I can't use what I really want to say. Um, but I think people forget that it's a persona. It's just what he chooses to utilize. It's what he chooses to be online. A lot of people are afraid to be themselves. A lot of people just prefer not to be themselves online. They prefer, um, they basically prefer to just be something that they're not because it's fun to be an ego. It's fun to be a character. It's fun to be an alter, so on and so forth. And then that also goes with insecurities. That also goes with they don't like who they are or they're ashamed of who they are, so on and so forth. So with that being said, um, I think that a lot of people forget that they just. I mean, I know that people think that a lot of what he says is over the top, but let's be real. As much as he says off the wall stuff, as much as he says things that are stepping over boundaries, what are we actually doing? Like, we're still giving him content, we're still giving him attention, we're still giving him what he wants. So that's why I kind of roll my eyes when people talk their shit about Salvo, because at the end of the day, you're still using him as content. As at the end of the day, you're still giving him what he wants. You're still giving him his attention. You're still giving into his. It's a trap. Like, for the fact that Tipster actually went off on Salvo on his stream, started screaming at the top of his lungs. If you're screaming, I mean, I don't know how many times I gotta say this. If you're screaming at somebody and you're supposedly confronting them, you've lost the fight. You've lost. You're submitting. The minute you start screaming and calling names, you're submitting to them. You're getting on your knees. That's the equivalent of what screaming at somebody and calling them names is. You've lost. And I think that's why a lot of people were laughing at Tipster when he was going off on Salvo, because he did lose. It's just that nobody had the guts to say it. He did lose. And now there's this whole fiasco between Keemstar and Salvo. I can't stand Keem. I call him a Karen because that's who he is in the end. He can't seem to pick a personality. He can't seem to pick what he wants to do as far as his brain goes. The fact that he does drama alert on Snapchat, I mean, he might claim, oh, I make a lot of money, I'm a millionaire, I'm this, I'm that. As much as you want to brag, like, Ethan Klein drove him out of YouTube. Like, that says a lot to me. The fact that some other creator, supposedly, that you despise so much, you're actually threatened and afraid of. I'm just calling it like it is, you know? To me, that's pathetic. And it's Ethan Klein, for God's sakes. And I'm not a huge fan of Ethan Klein, but I did watch Frenemies. I couldn't watch the entire 3 hours. Like, who the hell could sit through that? I don't know how you guys can do that. But I couldn't sit through the whole 3 hours. I couldn't. And it was actually the perfect show for the both of them, because they, as much as they hated each other and as much as they were both pretty unstable. But I could actually relate more to, I mean, as much as I love Trisha, I mean, I could relate more to Ethan when it came to their friendship, because the fact that you have to walk on eggshells every time you talk to a certain individual that you know cries at the drop of a hat, acts like a snowflake over every little thing that you say. If you have to walk on eggshells around somebody, if you have to watch what you say, at the end of the day, that person doesn't like you. They just don't have the balls to tell you. If you have to control who you are around that person, that person isn't worth being in their life, because who the fuck has time for all, like, who has time for all of that? Like, seriously. So I can understand from Ethan's point of view on that aspect. Because why should you silence yourself? Why should you... And like, at the end of the day, even though it wasn't a friendship, it was actually a relationship that they had to pretend to like each other to work together to make that podcast work. Obviously, it wasn't going to last long, because otherwise they wouldn't have called it frenemies. You know what I mean? So, I mean, a lot of people are saying that the whole Salvo and Keem thing it's fake. It's made up. It's there's no way that they broke up, so to speak. And I mean, if Salvo was so bad and such a horrible person, why did Brantley and Keem keep him there for so long? Like, why did you guys keep him there for so long? Why did you let him be a co-host? Like, you're losing me. As much as Karen wanted to bitch about Chris, saying that he's a shitty producer, he's a horrible worker, he should be fired. You've been trying to fire him for so many times. Chris tried to quit so many times. We all knew that was a gimmick. And as much as frustrating as Keem is, like, why not just quit? So I kind of knew that was... he was just, again, he's just in it, like, Chris was just in his feelings. No different than when Keem is in his feelings. Like, literally every 5 seconds, bitching about the littlest things. They're all in their feelings. And then you add, drugs and alcohol in that mix. Obviously, that's going to be a shit show. So, I don't know.
Entering Eckham Live dialogue.
And I don't understand why Salvo needs other people to push his brand. Like, clearly he doesn't need anybody. Clearly he's good without anybody. Clearly. Like, he's charismatic. He can hold an audience, obviously. Why does he need other people to stand on? I don't understand it. I really don't. Like, he needs to just focus on himself and focus on his channel and get monetized again. And I don't understand why he needs other people. I don't get that. As much as he has a presence and as much as he has a voice and he's able to maneuver an audience, clearly, why do you need other people, Salvo? Like, seriously. Like, what is it there? Like, what's there that you need other people to push yourself and make yourself relevant? Because being on the Keemstar show, like, that didn't raise Chris's numbers. That didn't, like, Chris the Narc has his own channel. That didn't raise his numbers. It didn't do anything for Salvo either. And as much as Keem wants to bitch, without either of them, his numbers wouldn't be relevant at all, Like, if it was just Keem alone, I would be bored, to be honest with you. It was boring. He literally drove his show off of YouTube. He lied a lot. He fabricated a lot of the news that he brought on. It was no different than Deaf Noodles. Like, a lot of, like, as much as a lot of them hate each other, they all pretty much did the same thing. It's like they copycat one another, as much as they hate each other, supposedly. But again, it's
Eckham Live menu.
It's all
items.
content, I believe, Give me
menu.
1 second. I'm just trying to go through this here.
What's this in your back pocket? I just saw you walking it.
Entering Eckham Live
What's the
dialogue.
problem? You a tyrant?
Shocking body camera video shows deputies arrest a legally blind man walking back from jury.
Okay, so just so you guys know, this happened in October 31st. And I figure it would be a good transition between Tipster being offended with his disabled wife and that whole fiasco. But this did happen on October 31st, and it's November 20th. So just watch what happens, okay? And just so you know, I did have to flip it because I, have to follow YouTube rules. And if you clip something, you have to alter it. You can't keep it as is. You have to alter it, unfortunately.
Duty with a walking stick.
What's your name and date of birth?
I don't have to give that unless
Yes,
I'm
sir.
good.
I was
You
investigating.
have reasonable.
Do you want me to put you in handcuffs right now? Yes, sir, I do.
It happened on October 31st in Columbia County, Florida. Body camera video shows deputies interacting with 61-year-old James Hodges, who is carrying a walking stick in his back pocket. According to the video, responding deputies at first believed it was a gun.
What is your suspicion?
It looks like you're carrying a gun in your back
Entering
pocket. I'm
finder.
stopping to make
Entering
sure you're
comments and
carrying it properly.
reactions. System
Have you
loading
ensured
window.
that it's not a firearm?
No, you keep turning so I can't see it. You don't have to be a to me.
Well, you're being one to me.
Video shows Hodges refusing to give out his name, date of birth, or ID card. He then calls for the responding deputy's supervisor.
No, sir, I'm
Have a
doing my
good day.
job.
Am I detained?
Yeah, you are. What's your name and date of birth?
It does not matter.
Yes, sir, it does.
Do you have a crime?
Would you like me
Call
to
your
put you in
supervisor.
handcuffs?
Entering
He's right
Eckham
here.
Lift. Eckham
The
Lift.
supervising deputy
Entering
again
Eckham
asks for
Lift.
Hodges'
Eckham Lift.
ID,
Dialogue.
but he refuses.
What she stopped you for? For a walking stick.
So-
And it could look like a weapon. She asked you to really resist.
Hodges confirms that he is legally blind and carries the navigational aid to help him when walking. He also tells deputies he was stopped while walking back from jury duty.
Sir, are you legally blind? Yes, I am.
Okay, so for those of you who don't understand, they thought, I don't know what it is, and I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for this. I don't know what it is about female cops when it comes to us that are blind, okay? I had an encounter myself recently when I was at I was at one of the basically one of the hotels that I was staying at, okay? I don't know what it is, and I'll tell you guys the story in a minute. But she thought that he was carrying a weapon, and he was, for those of you who don't understand, those of us that are blind or visually impaired, we actually carry our cane, which folds, by the way. It's a blind cane, and it folds up. So we fold it, and then I used to put it in my jeans. Like, I would, like, literally loop it and put it on the side of my jeans so that people could tell that it's there. Some people put it in their back pocket. Men prefer to put it in their back pocket. Women prefer to put it in the front, just in case you would have, like, someone that tries to attack us. We just have to be ready at all times when it comes to us being women. We don't have a choice. But he had it folding, and he had it in his back pocket. She thought it was a weapon. She thought, oh well, if it's a gun, then he's doing it wrong, right? You have to hold it a certain way. And he's not wrong in basically defending himself. Like, the fact that she called him, she's like, you don't have to be a dick, sir. He's like, neither do you. He's not wrong in basically defending himself. As us being blind, I'm deafblind and I have more than one disability, but at the end of the day, we get tired of people talking shit. We get tired. We don't care who you are. We don't care if you're authority. We really don't care at this point. We get sick and tired of it. We're just like everybody else. We want to be left alone. We're doing, it's hard enough for us to navigate. It's hard enough for us to do what we do every single day, right? And it's bad enough that we get, picked on and bitched at by normal people. It's annoying. So him trying to get home, he basically, has to deal with this. And then for those of you who are because a bunch of you asked me, they're like, wait a minute, why didn't they realize that he was blind when they saw the walking device? Because that's basically what the blind cane serves two purposes for blind people. One is an identification for you sighted people. That's what we call you guys, those of us that are blind and visually impaired. For those of you who can see, that's what we call you guys. So it is an actual identification. So it is to show you sighted people, I'm blind. You need to be careful. That's basically what it is. It's a cautionary device. Okay. It also serves as our eyes, so it helps us navigate objects, and it's a safety precaution as well. Because at the end of the day, it can't be our eyes, right? So it's more so of a safety precaution, so that we don't hurt ourselves or fall, or we're still going to trip regardless. But you know what can we do? That's the means that we have in 2022. And the reason he asked him was because he saw his ID. And for those of you who don't realize, if you are disabled, it is classified. There's a classification for how many disabilities you have. There's an actual form that doctors fill out for the DMV, and your class number is on there. You're basically on paper stating that you're disabled, and that's why the guy asked him, because cops know codes, cops know like all those numbers. Cops know, cops aren't that dumb. But people can say that it's a cane, but a lot of people fake, illnesses. A lot of people fake. Unfortunately, a lot of people fake, cancer, chronic illness, terminal illness. So unfortunately, that's where a lot of cops come from in this day and age. So that's why they were asking him. That's why the guy asked him, are you, legally blind? Because it showed up on his state ID.
I had to walk up here in the dark for jury duty, which was canceled. Why aren't you using your stick? You don't have to use your stick all the time? Not all the time.
After Hodges' ID card is retrieved, the supervising officer orders he be taken into custody for resisting an officer and obstruction.
All right, Mr. Hodges. Was that hard?
It's gonna be. I want your name and your badge number.
I put you in jail for resisting.
Okay. All right, let's go.
I want your name
Entering
and badge
fine.
number
Entering
too, sir.
Hodges is then
Dialogue.
placed in the back of a squad car.
You wanna pull this out of my back pocket?
Sure. Here, I'll grab your jacket for you, too.
The Columbia County Sheriff's Office released a statement saying Sheriff Mark Hunter is, quote, troubled by what he has seen in the video, and the matter is being addressed. An administrative investigation into the incident began on November 3rd, when officials say they were made aware of the situation. The statement also reads in part, quote, if policy violations are sustained at the conclusion of that investigation, appropriate action will be taken. Law and Crime Network reached out to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office for additional comment, but were told to refer to the online statement.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the sheriff just did an apology. They didn't really do much. Supposedly, he made those two officers get in trouble. But let's be real, like, get in trouble is a slap on the wrist when it comes to cops, because they are a secret society. For those of you who don't realize, like, are we at all surprised? No, I'm not, because I'm what's considered a double minority. For those of you who don't know, if you are disabled, and me being disabled, Hispanic, like that's a double minority. Okay, so me being asked, I mean, especially being outside of the city, like you'd be surprised how many times I've been asked for my birth certificate. Like, ever since the whole ICE raid back in 2018 that Trump decided to conspire and but it's just basically blow up. Um, a lot of people that are xenophobic and a lot of people that are racist ask me for my birth certificate and my identification. And a lot of the times I cooperate because at the end of the day, you don't really know who you're messing with. You don't really know who you're dealing with. That person can have a concealed weapon. That person can be psychotic. You don't know who you're dealing with at the end of the day. And I'd rather just cooperate than give, you know what I mean, give my life to at the end of the day. That's my alternative. So, I mean, as irritated as this guy was, I've been stopped by the cops just walking with the cane myself, walking to work. And this was in the city. Uh, you'd be surprised at how ignorant the authority is, as much as they want to claim they're superior, as much as they want to claim they're above us. A lot of them are idiots. A lot of it are ignorant. Like, there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to the disabled community, you know? I remember one particular cop, I was like in my 20s and I was walking. I was basically walking back home from work. And, you know, even though I lived in the city, the buses didn't run on the block that I needed to get to, so I had to walk. And unfortunately, I had to walk on the highway. Like, if you need to get from point A to point B, you just don't have a choice. You just fucking walk it. Okay? I didn't have family to help me. I didn't have any of that. Like, so a lot of people that are disabled are privileged. A lot of people that are disabled have that means in the sense that they have people there to help them, to give them rides, to give them, you know, whatever it is they need, right? I think that's essentially why a lot of disabled individuals, whether they're kids or adults, kids meaning like teenage years and young adults, why a lot of them prefer to stay home and be coddled and taken care of by their families and never leaving their house, so to speak. A lot of them do work 9 to 5s, but they can't afford their own house or can't afford an apartment because we're considered under poverty because we can't afford like a regular apartment. We have to get like a low income or Section 8 or, you know, so on and so forth. So I remember, you know, just walking home and the cop's like, ma'am, what are you doing? And I'm like, walking? And he goes, well, I just want to make sure that you're safe. And I'm like, well, I'm walking home. And it's like, I'm literally like a block away from the train. I'm just trying to get to the train station. Once I get to the train station, it's literally, I'm literally almost home if I get to the train. And he goes, well, why are you walking? And I'm like, I just came from work. Like, do you need to know anything else? Because if I miss this train, I'm not going to be happy. And he goes, oh, well, okay, fine. If you cooperate, essentially with these cops, they don't ask for your ID. You know, as many times as I was stopped by the cops, they never asked for my ID. Clearly, they see that you're struggling. Clearly, they see that, you know, obviously. So the fact that these two idiots just felt like fucking with him just for the hell of it, that's where they went wrong. Because they shouldn't be asking for your ID. If they see you struggling and they see you have a cane, they see you have something to utilize because you're struggling, and, you know, essentially the female cop being a dick, obviously not going to help you. And then a lot of people were like, well, can't he just sue? He can, but I don't think he's going to get anywhere because the city is gonna say, "Oh, well, we don't have the money because we debunked the police." Like, you know how it is. When it comes to red tape, when it comes to politics, that's basically that's gonna be their excuse. You know, we don't have the money, so on and so forth, which is all BS. Like, I hope that he decides to do something, because that's just uncalled for. Like, as many times as I was stopped by the cops, they never asked for my ID. You know. And then the whole thing in Rochelle, like that was annoying, because my husband kept telling her, "Oh, she's losing her vision, and she has to say that she's blind." And then she goes, "Well, why do you have to say that you're blind if you can see?" And it's like, okay, I am not in the mood for this. I'm like, well, if you have, because I even told her, I'm like, if you have a problem with it, why don't you ask my doctor? I have a retinal specialist. Why don't you ask him? Then, you need to know everything, and you got to give me a freaking attitude about it. I'm like, I'm already dealing with enough. I don't need your shit. I really don't. And I really don't care to talk to cops like that. If you're going to be a dick to me, you're going to get that shit back. I really don't care who you are. If you talk, I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care if you're like a regular person. If you're going to talk shit to me, you're going to get that shit right back, and you're not going to like it. That's for sure. So she got all like hissy fitty because she was upset that she had to help my husband with his walker, right? And that's just something that he utilizes. And I just simply pointed out where to fold it, right? Like, literally where to fold basically where to fold because if you fold the bottom part, it collapses, and then you just put it wherever you can to store it, right? And she's like, well, if you're pointing, why do you say that you can't see when clearly you can see? I said, I am not doing this with you, lady. I said, I know you're a cop, and I know you think just because you got a gun, you think I'm afraid because you got a gun? You think I'm afraid of you? It's like, you got another thing coming. I said, I'm sorry, what does your brain have to do with your eyes? She's like, excuse me? I said, I said, I have to fold that walker too sometimes. I memorize where things are. What the fuck does your brain have to do with your eyes? You're not making any sense. And she goes, oh, I don't think about that. I'm like, well, yeah, start thinking about that before you start making ridiculous comments to disabled people. I'm like, I feel sorry for the next person that you have to encounter that's going to get shit from you because, God forbid, you think, huh? I'm like, just because you're a cop doesn't mean you have to stop thinking. Just saying. So, yeah, I don't know what it is with female cops. Like, I guess that they have to feel like they, I don't know. I think
Menu,
that they just,
11 items. Entering menu.
they feel like they have to show that they're above the male cops because they don't get that much respect. But still, you don't have to be a dick to those of, like, we didn't do it to you, you know. So I don't understand at all with that BS. Hang on.
That I'm not advocating for like a law that says that you if you're married you have to have X number of kids.
But then why are you opposed to two gay people doing that?
Well, because again, it's not about choice. It's about what this institution, marriage is an institution, and what is it, and what purpose does it serve? And I do not agree with tearing down or changing this definition, especially because the people who have changed the definition haven't come
Menu, 11
up
items.
with a new one. So
Entering
they say,
menu.
well, that's not what marriage is. So for thousands of years, we said marriage is the procreative union. And then we had the other side who came along and said, well, it's not that. Okay, well then, like, what is it exactly? And I know you said, well, it's people who love each other. Two people love each other. Well, but then why two people? Why do they have to love each other? All these kinds of questions. You get into what if they're in the same family? What if brothers and sisters want to marry? And I know every time that comes up, the advocates for gay marriage will say, well, that's a slippery slope argument. That's a fallacious. But it's actually not. It's like we're trying to get to what do you even think this institution is now, since you've rejected out what we were saying it was. And I've never found a compelling definition. And any definition offered, it's like, well, what's even the point then? Why do we even need this now?
Closing menu.
I just
Scenes
don't
menu
see
button.
how a gay marriage in any way damages a straight marriage. I don't see it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just seems to me that people want to be look, if you want.
Me neither. Okay, so I know I'm supposed to be biased because I'm bisexual. You know, for those of you who need a label. I know I'm supposed to be biased, right? I'm supposed to be on the stance of the LGBTQ, right? I'm supposed to be, oh, well, you don't get a say in this conversation because you have that label, you know? Like, regardless of who I've been with in the past, I'm still in a committed relationship to this day. And I can't believe that this is where we're at in 2022. That where are the reasons, those of us that are bisexual, those of us that are pansexual, we are the reasons why you straight people can't get it together. No, that's bullshit. You straight people can't get it together because, hello, you guys can't get it together. For whatever reasons, you guys can't stay together. You guys can't be monogamous. For whatever reason, you guys can't commit to each other. And I find it really, really interesting that those of us that are bisexual, that have that stigma, that we're just whores, that will fuck anything, that those of us that are pansexual, those of us that are bisexual, that we are basically the lowest of the low, and we can't commit to anything because we're just whores. And look who's at the laughing stock, right? Because it's not 50%. If you do the research, 50% of it's not 50% anymore. 50% of marriages ended in divorce was a thing of the past. It is now 98%. Yeah, 98% of marriages end in divorce. That shit has skyrocketed. And people are, like, let's be real, straight people are afraid to get into relationships. Can you blame them? I would hate to date right now. Like, I would hate to be in the dating scene right now because that shit is brutal. Like, from the horror stories that I've heard from my single friends, that's gotta suck. That really does. Because those very few men that are good men, that have a good job, that are like family men, that are willing to be there for their woman, they can't find the women that they gotta pick out of that bunch are women that are slutty, women that are trashy, women that are gold diggers, women that are independent, women that are psychotic, women that just can't seem to get it together. And then same goes for the women. It's vice versa. There's the exact same personality types that I just described. They gotta pick that out of a man. And then it doesn't help that, you know, this I'm noticing more and more. As much as people want to give me shit for my relationship with the age gap, right? As much as people want to give me shit for my relationship with the age gap, if you look at the demographic between men between their late 40s and above, they're dating women that are 20 years, 18 years, 15 years, maybe 10 years younger than them, and vice versa. If you look at the demographic of older women, there are some older women that are into younger men as well. Those of us that are in age gaps, That's the main reason why we get shit, why we get reprimanded from other individuals, because we basically fuck up the dating pool, right? I've been with my husband for 7 years. We're not actually married, and those of you guys have watched this channel for a while now, I know this. We're not actually married, we just consider each other married, right? It's more of a spiritual thing for us. And we've been together for 7 years, and it'll be 8 next year. And as much as I get like the jokes, the snarky comments, the attitudes that me and him get for me being so young and him being older, at the end of the day, it works for us, you know. And every relationship is hard regardless if it's two disabled people. If one person is disabled and one isn't. If one person's older, the other person isn't. So we have a lot of things, if you think about it. Like, we're both disabled in different ways. We both have ailments that are pretty similar but aren't. We both have basically this similar upbringing, similar situations happen to us, but different, obviously. More so because men deal with trauma differently than women, obviously. And you would think that him being older, like, we wouldn't have anything in common, because I still get that to this day. Like, oh, well, he's a lot older. What do you guys have in common? Blah, blah, blah. Like, one, none of your business. Two, you would think that it wouldn't, like we wouldn't get along, but we actually do. Because we do have a lot of things in common. And for us, it's more of a give and take thing. So I'm there for him when he needs it, he's there for me. Like, any type of relationship, whether it's marriage, whether it's just being a couple, it's 100-100. It's never 50-50. It's just not. So this whole, like, debate that, I mean, Matt Walsh tried it, but he failed miserably, because clearly he didn't come prepared. Like, this is Joe Rogan. Like, when you go up against him, you got to be prepared. You got to be ready. You got to know who your opponent is. You know what I mean? And he tried, and he couldn't do it. He's just, I mean, they're both basically talking in circles, right? And to say that people that are in the LGBTQ, we are the reasons that straight people can't get it together. We are the main reason that straight couples get divorced, or straight couples just don't understand the meaning of marriage anymore. I mean, this is just one person's opinion. Like, this is just Matt's opinion. And as much as people want to say, oh, well, I agree with him, it's still his opinion, because the idea of marriage from a religious standpoint, which is where Matt's coming from a religious standpoint, has been dead long ago. The reason I say it's been dead is because the government got involved and basically told the church what to do. And for those of you who don't realize, it took the government to get involved to approve gay marriage. If it wasn't for the government stepping in, we wouldn't have gay marriage. And let's be real. If you look at a marriage license between a gay couple and a straight couple, it's not the same thing. They might say that it's marriage verbally, but on paper it's considered a civil union. It's not considered an actual marriage. Why? Because the government had to get involved. It's not a It's not from a religious standpoint, because church and state don't mix. So because they don't mix, they had to somehow stuff it in there. You know what I mean? Like literally fit it in there. But I've seen an actual like certificate for the marriage of gay people, and it does say a civil union. It doesn't say that they're married. And I find it interesting that that's what it is in America. And if you like look at licenses of other countries, it doesn't say a marriage license either. It says a civil union too. And this is between two straight people. So I find it interesting that it's different in
I wanted to look at
other countries.
logic, especially in our modern society, which is pretty fucked when it comes to relationships. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of all marriages end in divorce anyway. They don't make it. You know, I don't know if anything would damage marriage and damage the institution of marriage is the option of divorce. I don't think gay people getting married in any way, shape, or form changes a bond that you have with your wife. It's just called marriage. It's a human invented thing. If we decide that gay people can get married too, I just don't see how it damages anything. I don't think it tears down the definition of marriage in any way. It just opens up the possibility that people who are gay won't be discriminated against.
Yeah, I don't think that a gay couple existing directly impacts. You know, there's a gay couple and wherever, and I'm with my wife in our house. Like obviously,
Right.
there's not. But I'm not talking about on the individual level. I'm talking about on the societal level.
Right.
I would agree that divorce, especially this no-fault divorce, rampant divorce. I don't think it's as high as 50%. I know that's often quoted. I'm not sure where that comes from, but it is high. It's too high. And
Chris Rock has a great joke about that. He said those are just the people with the courage to get out. He's like, how many cowards stay?
But it's also true that the advocates for what we call now traditional marriage, which I just call marriage, but the advocates for traditional marriage put themselves at a disadvantage by especially in the churches, like allowing this rampant divorce to occur. And then you've already sort of given up on some marriage is supposed to be monogamous and permanent, as well as procreative. Well, you've given up monogamy and permanence, and so now it's not. That's two of the three legs gone, and so now this assault was waged on the procreative part of it, and it was difficult to withstand it because the institution had already been weakened. So I agree with you there. But my answer to that is to try to reinforce what marriage is, not to just give up on it entirely. And I still think you're left with this question of, like, if marriage is not what I'm saying it is, then why do we even need it? What's the point? I mean, you're saying it's a man-made institution.
Yes.
But you're also, like, the way that you're presenting it, it's a totally meaningless institution. So
No.
you don't need it at all.
No, it's not meaningless. It's because it means something to the people that get married.
So it's just a subjective, symbolic thing. I mean, what?
Yeah.
So if you're
Kind of what it is. Look, there's a massive responsibility when you're married.
Hasn't it always been a symbolic thing, though? Like, coming from someone that's non-religious, like, isn't that the whole point, though? That's the symbolism to show that you're committed to God or whatever. Like, whether you're religious or not, isn't that the whole point? Isn't that the whole point? Is the symbolism? Isn't that the whole point of I call them handcuffs, or like baby handcuffs, like the ring is on your finger. Isn't that the whole point, though? Because even like when two people have a wedding and have a ceremony, that's not even for them. That's not even for the couple. That's for everybody else. That's for show. That's why people spend like $100,000 to like $500,000 on their wedding, because it's for show. It's to show that you're willing to commit, but it's not even for you to enjoy. Like the weird traditions that they have from the church to showcase that you're going to commit, right? So I don't know why it just feels like he's acting dumb. Like, what? Why are you That's true for everybody though. Like that's willing to be monogamous, willing to be, God forbid you be rare and, be willing to that's what you want in life, you know? Cuz that's another thing too that people aren't talking about. That as much as we want to say that marriage is sacred, it's really not. Especially coming from our society, we don't take it seriously. We really don't. Here in America, it's really rare to see those couples that have made it like 50 years and they're actually still in love. They still sleep in the same bed. They still just they care about each other. Like I know some actual couples that are like 50 years in and there's domestic abuse still going on, and even though they're in their 80s and 90s, there's still a lot of domestic situations going on. And then there's I can't wait for this motherfucker to be dead so that I can take his insurance policy. And there's a lot of that too. Basically that revenge tactic of, you treated me like this for so many years, I deserve all that shit. You know what I mean? You better have me in the will type of deal. I don't know that many couples that are older that actually still in it for the long haul, like even after you're dead. I don't know that many that are like that. I really don't. Because the idea that if you got married in a church, you're together until, even though the saying goes, death do us part, if you made a promise to God, it's ultimately even in the afterlife. Because you hear about those couples that were so deeply in love that one dies and then like a week later or 2 weeks later, the other one dies after. That's like that's what people want, right? That's what people want. They want that unconditional, undying love. But then they're also afraid to obtain it. They're afraid to get it. They're afraid to work at it. It's kind of an irony if you think about it.
And when you have children, to keep your family together and you raise and keep everybody happy and healthy, and there's great reward to that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out. It's people change. People are fucked up. It doesn't always work. And so I don't think it should be outlawed because 50% of the people fall apart. Just like I don't think it has any effect whatsoever on a straight couple if a gay couple decides that they want to make it official. And that's what it is to them. It gives them a feeling that they're accepted and appreciated and that they're not discriminated against because they happen to be homosexual.
So, well, what you're articulating to me is the damage that's done by gay marriage to the institution of marriage.
But how is it done? How is that in any way damaged straight people?
Because we are making the institution meaningless.
But it's not meaningless.
Well, but
it's very meaningful to the people that have it.
Subjective, symbolic, and it's about your own personal feelings.
Isn't it, though?
Well, no, I would say that it's not.
Well, if it's not subjective and it's not symbolic,
it codifies and protects and gives a name to a thing that actually exists, which are man, woman couples creating people, creating babies.
But not always.
Right, but that's still the nature of the union. So,
but what are the percentage of people today that are married that don't have children? I bet it's pretty high amongst heterosexuals.
Probably.
Is there something wrong with that?
I think there is something wrong with that. I think because we are making the.
I have to look into that. That's one thing I forgot to do, is look into that, like what percentage of that is. Because I know that the percentage of broken families is high too. Like a lot of divorces, a lot of kids that have to be basically torn apart, They gotta go for back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then the parents can't even be civil to each other. I don't know. I should have looked into that. And then the percentage of people that don't not only don't have kids, but the reasoning for them not having kids is, I mean, there's a little bit of both. Like some people just end up getting together and prefer to just be them two, rather than adding kids to that. And then there are people like myself, like women that are like myself that are infertile, that not only can't afford, I mean, infertility treatments is expensive, to say the least. And then adoption isn't an option for myself. People forget that too. I'll explain in a minute.
Institution meaningless.
But it's not meaningless.
Well, but you
it's
just
very
said-
meaningful to the people that have it.
Subjective, symbolic, and it's about your own personal feelings.
Isn't it, though?
Well, no, I would say that it's not. It's
Well, if it's not subjective and it's not symbolic,
it codifies and protects and gives a name to a thing that actually exists, which are man, woman couples creating people, creating babies.
but not always.
Right, but
You don't-
that's still the nature of the union. So,
But what are the percentage of people today that are married that don't have children? I bet it's pretty high amongst heterosexuals.
Yeah, you guys get the idea. I mean, they just, if you guys want to listen to that, you just got to go to Spotify to listen to Joe Rogan's podcast if you're someone who is into that. Hang on.
In alert, dialog, cancel, button. Ecamm Live needs permission to capture the screen.
Ooh, not good.
Ecamm Live does not have permission to access. Ecamm Live. Ecamm Live, dialog. Cancel, button. Closing
Give
dialog,
me a
button.
second.
Dialog. Dialog. Closing dialog. Entering Ecamm Live, dialog. You are currently on a button. To click this button, press Control, Option, Space.
So the thing of it is that when it comes to like infertility, like I can't afford it. Not only can I not afford it, I don't qualify for adoption. People forget that as well. Like if you're disabled, you got to go through hoops to get the approval of adopting a kid, especially kids in foster care, because the kid already has that trauma. The kid already has that, they're already dealing with a lot. And then you got to deal with foster parents that are disabled. You know what I mean? Yeah, a lot of people forget that. I don't qualify. I have way too many illnesses, and then for me to be actually like fatally ill and terminally ill at the end of the day, like that's like adopting an animal from a shelter and then taking it back. Like you hear that all the time with couples that adopt like a kid from foster care and then literally take the kid back. Like that's just horrible. Because you're fully capable of taking care of that kid, but you don't want it because whatever salacious, evil reasoning you got going on in your head, like that's just horrible.
Entering Ecamm Live, dialog.
But yeah, I don't qualify to have a kid. And people forget that too. Those of you that are religious, it's not meant to be. Like for me, it's just that's just my logic. Like if it's not meant to be, why would I go against fate? Why would I go against God? Why would I go against what God wants from me? Because if He wanted me to have a kid, I would have had one by now. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have been able to have a kid. And I find it interesting too that like what that brought up for me in that his conversation was that a lot of my exes I had to I had to break up with, because regardless of men want to like admit that or not, like men in their 20s, obviously I dated guys that were older, but the majority of men want kids, and that's why a lot of men date younger women. So if you're a younger woman and you're dating an older guy, like much older, make sure that that's something that you want. Make sure that you and your partner are on the same page, because that creates a world of problems as the relationship progresses. Sometimes it doesn't work out because that wasn't what you wanted to begin with, but you didn't have the heart to tell your partner. And then a lot of the times that ends up in infidelity, cheating, that ends up in just abandoning the person, and who the hell wants that? So for me, I prefer to be upfront with people, even if people claim that I was lying about my disability. Like my exes, I had exes that told me that I was lying about my disability, that just to get out of the relationship, or I was faking the disability. But if I'm just faking the disability, if I don't qualify to have a kid, if I don't qualify, if I like, I've done the research, so why the fuck would I lie about that? You know what I'm saying? But a lot of my exes pushed. A lot of them were like pushy on that standpoint, where, oh, I want to get married, I want to have kids. In my 20s, I didn't believe in marriage. And it wasn't until my late 20s until I met my husband. I even told him up front too, like, I don't know if I'm someone you're going to want to be with, because not only am I disabled, but I'm sick. And not only that, like, I can't have kids. I don't qualify to have kids. And I don't believe in, I'm sorry, I don't believe in messing with God. I just don't. Like, if it was meant to be, it would have been a long time ago, but it wasn't. And for those of you knowing what you know about my past, for me, being infertile, that was a blessing in disguise. You know? And as much as my exes hated me for breaking off the relationship, because at the end of the day, if I can't give you, that's just how I felt in my 20s. If I can't give you what you want a marriage, you want commitment, you want kids. I can't even give you the first half. And then you want me to bear your children that I can't even do. I can't do it. My body isn't built that way. Like, my physical anatomy is literally not built that way. So, but you know how people are. Like, especially men. Men can't take no for an answer. Men can't. They want what they want, so you're the bitch, or you're the horrible person, or you're the liar if you leave. When clearly you stated over and over what was what, right? But I knew from like a very young age that I was infertile. I knew from a young age that, okay, you can't have kids, and sadly I have all of these nieces and nephews that are in foster care. And to me, that was a slap in the face too, because I have, a sibling that was able to have kids and just threw them away. And for what? To escape for her addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that was bullshit. To me, that's a slap in the face. And I I mean, it's my standpoint is always different when it comes to like kids and being able to have kids and so on and so forth. So I think that a lot of people just need to put that in consideration. Those of you that are religious, not every circumstance is going to be the same. You know, a lot of people are the, you know, one situation fits all kind of spiel, but it's not, you know.
Menu. 11 entering menu.
I believe I have one more thing here. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna.
Blinds
What's
and
this in your
mob.
back pocket?
You are currently entering
I just saw you
Ecom
walking
List.
in.
Dialogue.
Not the one I wanted. Let me pause that for a second and then let me get in here again.
Menu. 11
So,
entering menu.
I believe I have comments, but let's see what we're doing here. Okie dokie. Thought I had you in here. Nope. Okay, give me 1 second. I have to bring it up, unfortunately. I thought I had this in here, but I guess not. So
Choose file.
Luckily,
In open. Dialog. Column view. Entering
won't
Ecom
take
List.
long.
Dialog. You are currently on a browser. To select a video list. List. You are currently on a browser. To Aaron
Give me
Carter.
1
Groove. 8 of
second,
19.
guys.
And just like that, we are conflicted MP4. Groove.
Just-
9 of 19. Ecom Live is not responding. Ecom Live not Ecom Live not responding.
There's a controversy that Boogie might not even
Ecom Live not
actually have
responding.
cancer.
Kimbaji.
It hasn't been
18 of
100%.
19. Dialogue. Closing dialogue. Entering
Yeah,
comments
yeah,
and
of course I
reactions.
would.
System. Entering Ecom Live.
course I would.
Dialogue. You are currently on a button. To click this button, press Control, Option, Space.
All right, let's see. Let's turn the Bluetooth on. Let's get connected to the right thing. And we're going to call Boogie, and we're going to ask him, because I've seen this controversy on Twitter that he might actually not have cancer and that he may have jumped the gun on all of this. There's like, he still has to get like blood work done or something. There it goes. Right there.
Oh, so it's like suspicion up in the air.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why he's Googling it. Okay, got you.
Hey, Keem, what's up?
Boogie, I'm live on the Keemstar show, just so you know.
Hey, what's up, man?
We wanted to find out about your cancer. We were just talking about it briefly. Because I seen some controversy on Twitter that like you might not have it. It's not like 100% you actually have this.
I mean, I literally had my doctor tell me yesterday that I had it, so I'm going to go by his word. But
What does the controversy stem from then?
I don't know. People just like to think I would make something up like this. It's a very specific type of cancer to make up, specifically because I was on testosterone for like 10 years. So like, one of the biggest risks of taking the testosterone supplement was signing paperwork that acknowledged this could give me this specific cancer. But it's really slow moving. It takes like 20 years to kill you. It causes a thickening of the blood. There's just way too many red blood cells in my system right now. So we're going through the process of elimination. We're taking a daily aspirin. We're reducing the iron intake that I'm currently taking. We're getting a sleep study done because apparently not sleeping well enough will raise your red blood cell count and stuff like that. But I don't really understand why people decided that this was made up.
I don't have the tweets with me, but I remember there was like a conversation with you and Bo Blacks, and it was something like you didn't get all the tests done. Like it's not.
Oh no, that was for autism.
Oh.
That was for autism. Yeah.
That's what happens when you're scrolling through Twitter. Okay.
Yeah. So I have two different therapists across 10 years tell me that I probably have autism, and then this latest one wants me to get diagnosed. But once we started talking about it, it's pretty fucking obvious I'm somewhere on the autism spectrum. I fit it perfectly. I'm gonna get the diagnosis at some point, but it's got to be like an in-person thing. So I can't say for sure that I'm autistic right now, but that's what Boblax was referring to.
So we were doing a segment called Toxic Comments, and there were like 3 horrible comments in reference to your video claiming that you have this rare blood cancer.
One was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're gonna,
It wasn't that bad though.
dark jokes can be funny, but some of them are just fucking
Entering
evil.
finder.
So how are you
Have you,
Entering.
how are you
entering
dealing with
Eckham
some of
Lift, Eckham
the
Lift,
evil
dialogue.
shit that's out there in reference to this?
You know, number one, you remember Total Biscuit. John went through this as well, and I watched him go through it. And this is like part of it, right? Like that's part of being an online personality. Secondly, this is something we were pretty sure was coming, so I've talked about it in therapy a lot. A lot. And he's given me a lot of great tools to help me deal with this kind of thing. And when it comes to like the funny ones, I actually really like the funny ones because like I've joked about cancer all throughout my life. I've joked about friends who died of it. I've joked about my fucking dad dying of it. Like I love dark humor. Make all the dark jokes you can.
Okay.
The one thing I can't handle.
Okay, so this is where he's getting himself in these situations because you can't say that you want it's like a I don't know, it's like a double standard because you at the end of the day you want to be the victim in murder because you have cancer. You want people to feel sorry for you. I mean, we just had a stream with Boogie saying feel sorry for us because YouTube is killing us. That's basically what he said, that YouTube is killing its creators, right? And now I'm supposed to feel sorry for you because you have cancer, but then you're also saying, no, it's not a big deal, not the end of the world, I got 20 years, I can do whatever I want, doctors have a handle on it, make all the jokes you want, make all the stupid comics, ignorant comments you want. This is why people don't believe that he has cancer. This is why people think that this is a gimmick. This is why people can't differentiate between delusion and reality. Duh.
Cancer. I did call you one night, but you didn't answer the phone.
Yeah, I saw that, man. Sorry about that.
No,
I was just dealing with this shit.
Somebody asked me in the comments what I was making, and it's kind of ironic, but I'm making a Bloody Mary.
I'm sorry, but that's funny.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's so good.
I double shotted it just for you.
Yeah.
Well, make it extra thick for me. Yeah,
Got
go ahead.
you.
I didn't look up the actual cancer that he has, but it does turn into leukemia, which is brutal, by the way. I did have I do have a cousin that did have it. She survived it. Leukemia is it's a fucking brutal. That's a brutal cancer. No lie, that's a brutal one because it's in your bone marrow. And there's not a lot of research on it, unfortunately. That's like the most brutal you can get.
That's funny.
Oh,
Baby,
man.
you funny.
At the end of the day, man, I'm not even that tore up about it. You know, you got to die of something. And I told my doctor, I said, if I end up dying of cancer instead of the stroke or heart attack I've worked so fucking hard on these last 48 years, I'm going to be pissed at you. And he initially bit his tongue for a second. And then he's like, well, Steve, this does greatly increase your chance of a stroke or heart attack. And I was like, yeah, Dr. Eddie, fucking
That's what our
cool,
video
man. I love
was.
you.
Yeah, we watched that.
Yeah, he's real.
Buggy, how old are you?
I'm 48, man.
So you could live to be roughly 68.
Yeah, if you look at the prognosis for this thing, the average life expectancy after diagnosis is.
Another thing too is that he's not understanding from one terminal illness to another person. Okay, what he's not understanding is that those of us that actually live with a terminal illness, whether it's cancer, whether it's an illness like myself that I have, even though it takes years to progress, even though it takes years until we get complications from this, from our ailments, regardless, people aren't going to be understanding of it. I mean, people aren't going to understand the dark humor. People aren't going to understand the turmoil. And I have to say, the sooner, like,
Messages.
if
Larry.
you're
Oh,
listening,
Mom, making
Boogie,
it like she's the only one that is paying for everything. Dave just confirmed everything. All of them are paying for everything, and they are helping us with the deposit as well.
hang
To
on.
open the notification, entering interview, system floating window.
Sorry, I had a notification. Oh, it's driving me nuts. Anyways, the thing of it is that, oh God, what was I saying? Great, thank you so much for that. The thing of it is that not only are people not going to be understanding of where you're coming from, the sooner, if Boogie ever listens to this stream, I'd highly doubt it, but the sooner you accept that this is happening, Boogie, the less that you fight this, the less that you give up on this, because clearly you're going to want to, it seems like you're already giving up. It seems like that, because you don't want to lose the weight, you don't want to do what you're supposed to do to stay healthy, right? As much as you joke around on this stream and you say you're going to do A, B, and C. You said otherwise on your video. You said otherwise on your video, and it seems like your eating disorder has taken over. It seems like your eating disorder is the main prevalent cause of this disorder, not just the testosterone that you took. Like, you add the eating disorder, not taking care of yourself, and then you add that to your testosterone supplements that you were taking that supposedly caused this. There's a lot of things that attributes to it. And let's be real, like, cancer isn't everybody. Even me. Even though I already have enough things going on, enough illnesses, enough disabilities, the cancer cells are in you. It's just stress and not taking care of yourself and stuff like that brings it out of you, unfortunately. So the sooner you attack this, the sooner you accept it, the easier it's going to be. Because I know that it seems like Boogie is just like, oh, it's not a big deal, this is nonchalant. I got 20 years, right? You're in for a rude awakening as far as, like, the more years that progresses, that your body breaks down with this cancer. This is a brutal cancer to have, especially if it transitions into leukemia. Any type of blood cancer is brutal, okay? And as much as you want to act like, oh, it's not going to be painful, I'm all right, I'm good, I got this. Doctors can't predict everything. That is the reasoning that doctors have to monitor you, because no illness, no disease is predictable. As someone who is multi-disabled, I can attest to that, okay? Anybody that has chronic illness can attest to this. There is no illness ever that known to humane that is predictable, okay? So the sooner that he gets a handle on this, the better, because as much as he wants to act like it's not a big deal, it is. It truly is. The complications, you don't want to wait for that. Trust me. You don't want to wait 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, hell, even 2 years down the line. Not take care of your health, not get enough sleep, not eat right. Want to pretend like everything is la-di-da and pretend like everything is normal, and then those complications hit you for the worst, you're going to regret making fun of this. You're going to regret using comedy as a coping mechanism, you know? That's why people are pissed off, because those of us that actually have a terminal illness, this shit isn't easy. This shit isn't fun. Living literally second by second, moment by moment, because your body is literally breaking down. There's only so much you can do. Doctors can't do shit. So be grateful. Those of you that, have an illness that requires treatment, that can even uphold treatment. Because those of you that have cancer have a 50-50 shot at beating it. The rest of us that have, illnesses that it's like basically not only the luck of the draw, but it's trial and error for us, unfortunately. And I've lost a lot of friends, young too, like early 30s, late 20s, to the disease that I have, and they did everything right, so just keep that in mind, like, especially for someone that has a terminal illness, or for someone that has cancer. I can understand those of you who are angry that have cancer at him for acting like it's nonchalant, and this shit is brutal. It is like just the mental state that comes with this, the up, down, because depression is a side effect of dying. It's not a side effect of your cancer. It's a side effect of dying. Being anxious, being depressed, dude, all of that, it all goes together. It really does. So while I get his humor, while I get what he's trying to do, I also understand from the other side of being sick, of having to deal with this day by day, and your body not cooperating when you need to do something. I completely get it.
20 years. That's average. People would live 30 or 40 years with it. That's why I made the video like the way I did. I'm like,
Another
hey, it's
thing
not
too,
that serious. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to worry about it that much.
Another thing too is it's almost like he's bragging. It's like he's bragging that, oh, I got 20 years. It's not a big deal. It's almost like he's bragging. Oh, if you ever want to get cancer, this is the one to get. Like, we can fucking predict this shit. I get that they don't believe in God. I get that they believe that there's a higher power, but they don't believe in God, essentially, right? They just believe that they can control this shit. That's dumb. For those of us who actually have to deal with this type of stuff, that is the stupidest logic you can ever actually portray, especially on YouTube. And this dude has a huge following. They all do. And as much as them as want to do a low blow like Salvo and, talk shit about us, those of us that are disabled, as much as you've got these privileged motherfuckers talking their shit, right? Yeah, it's a slap in the face. Like, I understand. I may not have cancer, but I've lost a lot of people to cancer, and that runs rampant in my bloodline, in my family. Believe it or not, that's the number one killer in my family. So I've been very lucky not to have that. Well, I did have it's considered a cancer scare, but I did have stage 0 back when I was 11 years old, for many, many reasons why. Mainly to do with my trauma, mainly to do with my sexual trauma that I was enduring, and then mainly to do with, it was a double factor. It was my eating disorder, my bulimia and anorexia, and then it was also the sexual trauma that I was dealing with. Why I had stage 0. But I understand why a lot of people are pissed off. And why a lot of people think that he's faking it. Because why are you talking like that? Like, why are you... But why would you say stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like, it's a brutal fucking disease to go through. And I completely get where Keem is coming from as far as there being a cure for cancer and they don't want to release it because the Cancer Society has made so much fucking money off of it. So much fucking money. I mean, at least my organization, like at least the Ehlers-Danlos Society knows there's never going to be a cure. At least my community of my illness, at least I don't bullshit you. They don't take your money, take your profits. We just raise awareness because a lot of doctors act like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just a joint condition. It's no big deal, yet all of us are dying left and right. Come on. From complications because doctors want to fucking ignore us. You know? You could have made our process easier. Hang on. Let me
entering Ecom Lift dialog.
You could have made our process easier of those of us, like those that had to die young, right? You could have made the process easier because at the end of the day, I am in the hospice stage. You know, it's a different word for individuals like myself. It's called a different thing. It's not called hospice per se, but that's the word I have to use for people to understand how severe it is. For cancer patients, it's hospice. For me, it's a different word, but it's basically a big fancy word for making it easier for the time you have left, right? Making your, like, doctors and nurses and stuff like that, and like even home care, making your end days easier, more comfortable, so to speak. That's basically what hospice is also for those of you that have cancer. But yeah, I mean, I completely get where people are coming from. Like, a lot of people were pissed about that one. And I can't stand, people know I can't stand Keem, but people wanted me to talk about that. But yeah, essentially that is a slap in the face. I highly doubt Boogie will ever listen to this stream. But essentially, like, it's a lot for those of us that are struggling, those of us that are dealing with any type of chronic illness, any type of terminal, fatal, so on and so forth. So for him to, like, poke fun, for him to, like, act like it's no big deal, bring all the hate you want, I don't know. I just think it's a total 180, because you went from crying that YouTube is killing its creators, including yourself, because you are being told you're a pedophile, you're being told with all these hateful comments, but then you said you're saying you have cancer and now bring on the hateful comments. So which one is it, Biggie? Because you're not making any motherfucking sense. You're really not. So, I mean, that's just how YouTubers are. Contradict themselves, and then they get themselves into these situations, and then they cry about it. This is why I don't get totally emotionally invested, because who the fuck has time for all that? It really does. And then those of us that are able to call these individuals out, they don't want to hear it. Because it's a joke, or that's not what I meant, or I really don't care. So, I don't know. Olivia asked why pancakes? Like why? Because his name is Salvo Pancakes on his channel. You're gonna have to ask Salvo that. I don't know. I don't know why he picked pancakes. That's just his persona. But a lot of people have different things. Like I've heard it all when it comes to YouTube. People use trees. Some people do use pancakes. He's not the only ones. He's really not the only one. Like people use like it's like a symbol of the emoji, so that they can use it on their live stream. It's just like a brand thing. A lot of YouTubers, creators do it. You'd be surprised. Like if you just like look into like the different sectors of YouTube, a lot of people use different things. I actually use like the anchor, but I don't use it in my name, obviously. But to symbol, like if you put the anchor emoji in my chat, that's just a part of my brand. But again, that's just part of his persona. But I just thought that was funny. It's like, why pancakes? Like that's just you're gonna have to ask. You're gonna have to ask him that. You're gonna have to ask Salvo that. So that's I don't know why. I don't know his origin story, so I'm pretty sure those that know his story that can probably tell you that. And then a lot of you guys are asking me to do more interviews because it's been a while since I've done one. Again, I mean, I've already talked to certain people that I would love to do interviews with, preferably males, because my channel is the majority still men, even though I'm hardly on here, even though even though I'm hardly on here, and even though I don't have like that much of a following anymore because I'm hardly on here anymore and people don't really understand how sick I am. And to be honest, I don't think people really give a shit. I'm just being real. But I kind of figured that really was gonna happen eventually, and there's only so much I can do, and I can't really plan out like every average YouTuber. I can't really plan out like every creator. Like I can't say I'm going to go live tomorrow or go live Wednesday or whatever, right? And actually fulfill that because it's getting bad. Like as far as like my illness goes. And then you add, you know, me being homeless and that uncertainty and still trying to get into housing and so on and so forth. But I just I go day by day. I kind of do what I can and try to work with what I got, basically. So yeah, I don't know what the future holds for the content, what the future holds for what I want to do moving forward. I know that I want to do the memberships as far as like using another site, and I've already collected and will still be continuing to collect as many videos as possible utilizing the other site, and that's only going to be like $10.99 a month for that website. And it's basically the reason I have to collect a lot of videos is because it's basically like a Netflix style site. And when you click on my website, you're just gonna see the different things that you can utilize as far as like how-tos and basically, if you're someone who is wanting to recover, how to get there. Basically, if you're someone that is wanting to understand, how do you not care what other people think? How do you not, like, how do you push forward? How do you stay motivated? How do you like I can basically give you tools from that sense. But as far as like YouTube, I can't, it's not sustainable for me. I can't do it every day, every week. Hell, I can't even do it every month at this point. I really can't, unfortunately. People are saying, well, if you get your place and get established, maybe then. But I don't know, because I'm honestly getting sicker. I kind of have a feeling of what's happening, but I need the doctor to confirm that in order for me to say what's happening. But yeah, I just take things day by day, and I'm still like, listening to YouTube and listening to comedy, and still find ways to smile, still find ways to laugh, because why not? Why not? Like, really, like, why not make the most of it? So to speak. And while this is like a grueling disease, and while this illness isn't taken seriously, I just prefer to cherish what I have left, because we really don't know how much and how long it's going to be, I was going to do another topic, but I think I'm going to wait on that one. Like, I think I'm going to wait. It's already been, what, 2 hours? Yeah, it's already been 2 hours, and I don't want to hold my husband too much longer. So I will probably come back sometime this week. Not a guarantee. But I will come back this week, and I will more than likely do like a daytime stream, because it's this lighting is just driving me nuts. So be on the lookout for that. I will probably post it first. I had to get used to this type of live stream. I'm not used to doing it I've never done it on my computer. So just be aware of that. I've never done a live stream on my computer. And this is a new Mac computer, so bear with me. But I actually love it, because I prefer the voiceover. Is it annoying sometimes? Yes, but I prefer the voiceover. It's just easier on me being blind and all. So yeah, I will
Entering Ecom Lip.
let you guys go, and hopefully you guys are doing well. Please check on your loved ones. Please take care of yourselves, and always make sure that mental state of yours is in check, and cherish every moment, because you really don't know how much you have left. All right, and I will see you guys in the next one. All right.
Entering Ecom Lip. Ecom Lip. Dialogue. Menu. 12 item. Entering menu. Blind
What's this in
Moth.
your back pocket?
Entering Ecom Lip. Dialogue.
I saw you walking it.
You are currently on a button. To click this button, press Control, Option, Space. Menu. 12. Entering menu. Kimbaji MP4.
There's a controversy that
Ecom Lip.
Boogie might
Dialogue.
not even actually have cancer. It hasn't been a.
Menu. 12 items. Entering menu. Entered mod. Entering Econ Lift dialog. End broadcast button. You are currently on a button. To click this button,